Welcome to the Fralin Writer's Eye Spotlight Talks for YouTube. Before we begin, I encourage you to use these videos interactively. When you are prompted to observe, pause the video and look carefully. When the educator asks a question, feel free to pause the video again and discuss your observations and ideas, making sure to address what you see that makes you say that. We're excited to share these videos with you and read your Writer's Eye entries. Enjoy!
I would like to begin this time by taking a moment to create a visual inventory. First, let your eyes wander from left to right, from top to bottom. What colors and patterns do you notice? Allow your eyes to focus on the center of this artwork and let them travel to the edges to see the entire painting. Is there anything that catches your eye? Once you have taken the time to notice all of the details of this artwork, what is the first detail your eyes were drawn to? Feel free to pause the video and write down your initial thoughts. I was drawn to the many figures throughout the painting wearing bold red and orange clothing, especially the largest figure near the center. What do you notice about the central figure? I noticed the scale of the figure. How might the size or position of this figure inform your interpretation of what is going on in this scene? What do you notice about the other people in the painting? Are they doing anything that looks familiar? Perhaps you noticed them circling around one another, or maybe you saw what appears to be people following a trail leading to a person in the forest. What do you think these actions suggest about what is going on in the painting? A thangka is a Tibetan Buddhist painting on fabric that commonly portrays deities, scenes of teaching, and other religious symbols. In person, this particular thangka is also framed on either side by silk drapings. Thangkas are also used to document the lineages and teachings of Buddhism. In this instance, the thangka follows the life and teachings of an arhat, meaning worthy one. An arhat is a human disciple or follower of the Buddha who has become enlightened. Arhats hold superior knowledge and can perform miracles and extend their lives on earth. Their purpose is to safehold Buddhist law while helping other disciples in times of need. This thangka, titled Piṇḍola Bhāradvāja by an unknown Tibetan artist, follows the life of Arhat Piṇḍola Bhāradvāja and depicts scenes from his life and teachings in a clockwise direction. Beginning in the bottom right, we can observe Piṇḍola's formative years spent in a palace surrounded by wealth. Then we can follow Piṇḍola out of the palace and see him study with Buddha in the forest. Then we see Piṇḍola in a town, holding a blue alms bowl or a begging bowl, an object we will begin to observe throughout the rest of the story. Buddhist arhats are often depicted with begging bowls since they do not accumulate food or money, but receive offerings of food from communities. Piṇḍola has given up a life of wealth and riches in order to follow the tenets of Buddhism. Moving upward, we see Piṇḍola teaching. You may notice the figures seated around Piṇḍola, listening. Take a look at the figure with the turban, followed by attendants and an elephant. This is the king. This king is coming to listen to Piṇḍola, but as we can infer from the elephant that follows him, which symbolizes ignorance, the king does not fully understand Piṇḍola's teaching. As we follow the story to the top left corner, we see the king again. He's approaching Piṇḍola, angry that Piṇḍola did not rise to honor him in the earlier scene. Do you notice the light brown fissure or crack in the earth? Because the king was intending to hurt Piṇḍola, there was an earthquake. Understanding the power of Piṇḍola the arhat in the next scene, in the top center of the painting, the frightened king now submits to Piṇḍola and his teaching, removing his head covering and kneeling at his feet. We then see Piṇḍola in residence with other arhats, guarding Buddhist law at the top right. The area in the center where Piṇḍola is largest shows Piṇḍola with his begging bowl in his left hand and a sacred book or Buddhist text in his right hand. What ideas do you have now that you have a little more information about Piṇḍola and his story? Now that you know some of Piṇḍola's story, what do you notice about the background or the setting of the thangka? The subjects are positioned on a background of a mountainous landscape featuring sharp peaks and lots of green plant life. Does the scenery remind you of anywhere in the world? The geography of Tibet is made up of high mountains and lots of greenery. This type of geography lends itself to remote communities that arhats place themselves in because it is difficult to frequently travel up and down mountains. Mountains also serve as a visual aid to connect ideas. In this case, the landscape is advancing the narrative. As your eyes travel from the bottom of the mountain to the top, they follow the story from beginning to end. Knowing the context of the painting, have your thoughts about any details changed? Thank you for joining me in viewing Piṇḍola Bhāradvāja. If you were to create a work of art that tells the story of your life, what important scenes might you include? What decisions might you make about the setting to tell that story? How might you communicate the importance of the central character? I hope you will use this as an opportunity to discover the impact that space and setting can have on a story.
We hope you've enjoyed this Writer's Eye Spotlight Talk. Please reach out to the Education Department with any questions or feedback. Our email is museumoutreach@virginia.edu.